Good afternoon, Standard 8 students. Now we know how Macbeth and his wife, they were having sleepless nights. Okay, in spite of them enjoying the glamour of being a king and queen, but they were very badly affected by the restless. They were not getting any sleep, because something was bothering them. Now, what was bothering them was Banquo's son Fleance. They were unable to get him murdered. And now, according to the weird sisters, though Banquo will not be the king, but his sons after will be the king of Scotland, and Macbeth's son may not be. Now, Macbeth felt that he should go and meet these weird sisters again to know more about Banquo's son's future. Now, the prophecy made by these weird sisters had turned out to be true. He became the Lord of Glamis, he became the Lord of Cawdor, and now he's become the King of Scotland. But the thought of Banquo's son becoming the king kept troubling Macbeth and his wife. To such dreadful fancies, Macbeth was subject. His queen and he had their sleep afflicted with terrible dreams, and the blood of Banquo troubled them not more than the escape of Fleance, whom they now looked upon as father of a line of kings who should keep their posterity out of the throne. With these miserable thoughts, they found no peace, and Macbeth determined once more to seek out the weird sisters and know from them the worst. He sought them in a cave upon the heath, where who knew by foresight of his coming, were engaged in preparing their dreadful charms, by which they conjured up infernal spirits to reveal to them futurity. Now, these ministers of darkness, the evil people, in order to get some magic potion or get some of their wish fulfilled, they perform a lot of different kinds of magic potion or mantras or sacrifices, a whole lot of things, nonsense things they do. Their horrid ingredients were toads, bats, and serpents. The eyes of a newt and the tongue of a dog, the leg of a lizard, and the wing of the night owl, the scale of a dragon, the tooth of a wolf, the maw of the ravenous salt sea shark, the mummy of a witch, the root of the poisonous hemlock. This, to have effect, must be digged in the dark. The gall of a goat and the liver of a Jew, which slips of the yew tree, that roots itself in graves, and the finger of a dead child. All these were set to boil in a great kettle or cauldron, which, as fast as it grew too hot, was cooled with a baboon's blood. To these they poured in the blood of a sow that had eaten her young, and they threw it into the flame, the grease that had sweetened from a murderer's gibbet. By these charms they bound the infernal spirits to answer their questions. So now, in order to prepare that magical charm that would foretell the future, so they have to call upon that spirit. Now, what the spirit likes is all sorts of nonsense put in that magical potion. So this part of it you will have to describe how the magical charm has been prepared by the Vyad sisters and for what purpose. So now they called upon the child spirit to answer Macbeth's question. It was demanded of Macbeth whether he would have his doubts solved by them or by their masters, the spirits. He, nothing daunted by the dreadful ceremonies which he saw, boldly answered, "Where are they? Let me see them." And they called the spirits, which were three. And the first arose in the likeness of an armed head, and he called Macbeth by name and bid him beware of the Thane of Fife, for which cautioned Macbeth, thanked him, for Macbeth had entertained a jealousy of Macduff, the Thane of Fife. And the second spirit arose in the likeness of a bloody child, and he called Macbeth by name and bid him have no fear, but laugh to scorn the power of man. For none of woman born should have the power to hurt him. And he advised him to be bloody, bold, and resolute. Then live, Macduff, cried the king. What need I fear of thee? But yet I will make assurance doubly sure. Thou shalt not live, that I may tell pale-hearted fear it lies, and sleep in spite of thunder. That spirit being dismissed, a third arose in the form of a child, crowned with a tree in his hand. He called Macbeth by name and comforted him against conspiracies, saying that he should never be vanquished until the wood of Burnham to Dunsinane Hill should come against, should know him. Sweet bodements, good, cried Macbeth. Who can unfix the forest and move it from its earth-born roots? I see I shall live the usual period of man's idle and be cut off by violent death. But my heart throbs to know one thing. Tell me if your heart can tell so much, if Banquo's issue shall ever reign in this kingdom. Here the cauldron sank into the ground, and a noise of music was heard, and 8 shadows like kings passed by Macbeth, and Banquo last, who bore a glass which showed the figures of many more. And Banquo, all bloody, smiled upon Macbeth and pointed to them, by which Macbeth knew that these were the posterity of Banquo, who should reign after him in Scotland. And the witches, with the sound of soft music and with dancing, making a show of beauty and welcome to Macbeth, vanished, and from this time the thoughts of Macbeth were all bloody and dreadful. Now when he went to meet the Vyad sisters, they were preparing some magical charm so that they could answer the future, because they knew at once from their foresight that Macbeth will definitely come again to meet them. So they were making preparations for Macbeth to tell him what his future now is going to be. Or the future, like for what he's going to meet them again. Now the idea was Macbeth wanted to know more about Banquo's son. Because Banquo's dead, that is okay, fine. But what about his son? So then, when the weird sisters called the child spirits, so the first one came with an arm head and told Macbeth to beware of the Thanes of Fife, that is Macduff. And of late, Macduff and Macbeth were having some kind of a quarrel with each other. So he looked at that way, that Macduff is an enemy to me. So that is why the child spirit is talking about to beware the Thane of Fife. But when the second child spirit came, he came like a bloody child and he told Macbeth not to fear, not to get scared, because none born from a woman can hurt you. That means no man on earth can hurt you, means so that, and not to fear. So that gave Macbeth some courage to challenge Macduff. He says, come on Macduff, now I'll take you on. Because knowing the fact that Macduff is born from a woman and will not be able to hurt him. So that is why Macbeth felt very secured now. The fear of getting killed by Macduff was gone from his mind. Then when the third child spirit appeared with a crown on his head and a tree in his hand. And he tells Macbeth not to worry, because nobody can hurt you or vanquish you until and unless the burning forest, the woods of burning forest, should move from its original place and go to Dunsinane Hill. Now Macbeth was shocked. He said, how is it possible? How is it possible that every tree whose roots are embedded in the earth should be removed and taken to Dunsinane Hill? That means it's all nonsense. The forest cannot move from one place to another. In other words, Macbeth felt that the third spirit is indirectly telling him not to fear anybody now. You can go and live your life happily and cheerfully. And not to get scared of anyone. The only person to get scared was from the Thane of Fife, that is Macduff. And Macbeth decided that I shall now challenge Macduff and see if I can put an end to this animosity. Okay. I shall keep it till here. And then on the 12th of February, that is on Friday, I will be conducting a class test from the same story, Macbeth. Please prepare the question answers and the word meanings for your class test on Friday. Thank you.